Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Louisa May Alcott once wrote, "Preserve your memories, keep them well. What you forget, you can never retell." These words remind us that memory is the foundation of identity, not only for individuals, but for entire communities. Our personal memories shape who we are, but our shared memories, our stories, traditions, and history are what bind us together. When we preserve these memories through projects like the Ardsley Story Quilt and organizations like the Ardsley Historical Society, we are not only honoring the past, but we're building a bridge of hope and belonging for generations to come. Forgetting erases those connections, but remembering strengthens the community. I'm Ananya Shukla, a senior at Ardsley High School, and I had the honor of learning from Miss Samad and the participants on this project. In the next few minutes, I'll take you through the inception, history, process, and lasting impact of the Ardsley Story Quilt. This story begins with Miss Sanya Samad, an artist, collector, researcher, embroiderer, and storyteller. Her journey started in her grandmother's home in Lahore, Pakistan, where art and tradition were woven together. Her work is about the language of textiles and what cloth and thread have meant to human culture for centuries. But as we know, it takes a village. When Miss Samad shared her vision, she was welcomed by Mayor Kabulian, Deputy Mayor Edelstein, the Ardsley Multicultural Diversity and Inclusion Committee chairs Dr. Shukla and Ms. Swanson, and most importantly, the people of Ardsley. Together, they transformed a vision into a living project. The quilt began with a simple but powerful idea. Each square would tell a story of Ardsley, narrated and designed by individuals and families. Using recycled materials also made sustainability a core part of this project. We were guided by five main missions: building community, deepening belonging, telling our stories, practicing inclusivity and gratitude, and preserving hope and sharing it. Now, let's hear directly from Miss Samant.
Also. So, in how did the quilt project start? Um, so, in 2023, when the war started between Israel and Palestine, um, we all in America felt uh, um, the trouble. I think what was happening there, we were all feeling it, and everybody was sensitive. And that was a time when we needed to be in a community. We needed to feel that we are part of a community, and we have to listen to each other also. So in the
Ardsley, though small, has a rich history intertwined with quilting as a means of preserving community identity. The village's name comes from Cyrus Fields' estate, originally chosen for a post office. What began as a practical naming decision grew into the identity of our home. But names hold power. In the late 1800s, developers sought to claim the name for casino. Yet one woman, Miss Elizabeth Hopkins Odell, stood firm and defended its heritage, reminding them of the field's approval and the name's origin. Whether Field truly signed is uncertain, as his name barely appears on the 1883 document. And that's where historian Jill Lepper's words ring true. History is only written from what remains. What we choose to preserve and what we allow to fade shapes the story that future generations inherit. Even the way we pronounce Ardsley tells a story. In England, it is Audsley, non rhotic with the R dropped. Here in New York, however, the R stays strong. Ironically, that's what makes our pronunciation closer to how English was spoken centuries ago, more traditional than modern British English itself. So the next time you say Ardsley, you're not just naming a place. You're echoing centuries of linguistic history. With every R, you're carrying forward a symbol of Ardsley identity and resilience. Ardsley's history is also full of quilts, which we soon discovered when we started working on this project. From the garden club quilt, pickle quilt, to the signature quilt, quilting has long been part of the community's storytelling tradition. We spoke with the Ardsley Historical Society, Garden Club, and the people at the forefront of these projects to better understand this rich history. Here you can see Mr. Marcus explaining the signature quilt and pointing to the leatherwork for Ardsley's centennial celebration in 1996 by Ardsley resident Mr. Anthony Radomski. After shaping the idea, developing a plan, and conducting research, and defining clear objectives, the project was launched into the community. Volunteers of all ages came together, sharing their creativity and energy with their collective spirit. The project came to life. Many more conversations happened. We kept on growing, working collaboratively, and working collectively.
With the Ardsley Story Quilt,
Here's
I
an
think
interview.
it was
Here's
really
an
difficult
interview with
because I
Miss
don't
Fu about how she
know
felt
how to
before going
embroider
into the
at
quilt
all.
and some of the challenges
And
she
I
faced.
think it is a daunting task. And I also think that sometimes when people are creating art, not necessarily saying that my squares were art, but when you're creating art or when you're creating something that you're thinking of, oftentimes what you envision is not necessarily what ends up being what your skills can allow you to do. So I feel like that was really challenging. I also think that because each square was supposed to represent a family, um, that was also really difficult because even though it's a privilege or a great opportunity to be able to be a part of the quilt, at the same time, knowing that there's going to be this square that's going to represent my family, it's a little bit intimidating and also a little nerve-wracking. With the Ardsley Story Quilt, I think it was really difficult because I don't know how to embroider at all, and I
Even though Miss Fu thought it would be challenging, look at this amazing piece which she was able to create alongside her daughter Rebecca, who's currently a student at Ardsley Middle School. They created not only one but two squares. This square blends personal history, culture, and community. Using a Dave Chappell t-shirt, it reflects Ardsley's appeal while weaving in memories of school days, family heritage, and global traditions, all symbols of connection, resilience, and belonging.
I had a lot of fun doing it. It brought out a lot of
This is an interview clip with Miss Stephanie Suhu, which describes the impact the story quilt had on her and the community, and also the ability the quilt had to foster inclusivity.
a really long time, and it was rejuvenating meeting a lot of new people in the community that I never would have come across in my day to day. And they're all so lovely, and it's been really fun getting to know everybody and getting to know everybody's personal story and realizing that we all have shared feelings about inclusiveness and wanting to bring joy and our stories of love to the community. I had a lot of fun doing it. It brought out a lot of you know, I guess creativity and imagination and inspiration that I hadn't really tapped into in a really long time.
Quilt members also shared histories of their family unique textiles. Sewing circles began to form, with neighbors inviting others into their homes to work on their squares together. It soon became clear that everyone genuinely cared about one another's stories and their successes. What began as a group of strangers blossomed into something deeply meaningful, both personally and emotionally. Here you'll see Mayor Kabulian contributing to one of the quilt squares. This square reflects Ardsley's role as one of the three communities that welcomed asylum seekers from New York City. Many arrived with little to their name, but over the course of 18 months, Ardsley embraced them with warmth, safety, and support. Our village became a shining example. Ardsley truly embodies the spirit of a community, a place with both a welcoming home and a generous heart.
So for our square, what we
This is a
decided to
clip from an
do
interview
is
with Dr.
represent
Rebecca Berry
our
and Miss
shared
Janie Lee
backyard.
about
So
how
the
they
theme
were
of our
able to
square
channel
is
their
being
friendship
reflexive.
into a unique joint square representing their
Yeah,
shared
so
backyard.
you'll see it in the quilt. The two dark green squares come right up to next to each other on the bottom, and we have a little garden space that we share. There's again no border between where our yard ends and theirs starts, and so we have this shared garden space that's represented on the quilt, and then we gave other sort of pictorial representations of what's important to our family. So because our family does the music boosters, or I mostly do the music boosters, I have musical notes, and then you'll see on Janie's, because she's the president of the visual arts
Right.
boosters, essentially. She has more artistic graphical representations.
So for our square, what we decided to do is represent our shared backyard. So the theme of our square is no fences.
Yeah, so you'll see it in.
Finally, all the squares were completed and put together. What started with the concept took close to 1.5 years to fully complete. We got support from Mr. Tim Lamort to put the portrait and story of each of the participants, which everyone will have time to go over later this evening. Here are some quotes from participants in the quilt. First, Dr. Ruchi Agarwal highlights how Ardsley was able to commemorate an Eid, Lunar New Year, and Diwali school break across the school districts. Miss Shubha Sundaram explains how her square represents her family's heritage, which they still held true to themselves after their migration from India to the United States. Miss Megan Edelstein has her quote, "Time and again, Ardsley has proven ACD's tagline, our community cares, our families deliver." This quilt, a labor of love, is another example of that spirit. Additionally, Dr. Bushra Siddiqui talks about how Legion Park is a place for her community to come together amidst the chaos in the world, and how differences don't have to be a divide within communities. Furthermore, Mr. Steve Edelstein says, "My artsy story quilt square speaks to the potential to make change where you live, the power of community and volunteerism, and the difference that has made for our village." Our quilt squares may be complete, but the journey of community building has only just begun. This first community art project has shown the power of coming together with care, creativity, and purpose. A heartfelt thank you to Miss Samad, whose vision and boundless creativity lit the way and reminded us how far we can go when we all dream together. Thank you for being part of this journey, the story, and the celebration of who we are.